So here we are, back with part 2 of this Craftsman lawnmower. And I don't remember if I got you guys any of the information on it or not, but that's what's stamped on the deck. And then it looks like this is a 2005 model. It says 05 on it. So it's not too old. About 12, 13 years old. Really, all we have left to do on this thing is to kind of beautify it a little bit. Whoever I got this thing from tried to repair the bag with some zip ties, so I'll clean those up and might actually put some new ones on. And give this thing a good spit shine, because it needs it, and it does need to have the blade sharpened at the bare minimum, and I'll check it for balance as well, so I'll show you guys how I do that. There's really nothing to it. I also think I have some new ones of these that aren't broken that I can put on to make it look a little bit better. But first thing, we'll disconnect the spark plug boot, because we're going to tip this over and take the blade off. And this is really simple. That's all there is to it. So the blade does need to be sharpened. It's a little rough, but it's not horrible. On to the next step. So I did want to show you guys before I started sharpening this blade. This is the very low-tech way that I check it for balance. And it is really pretty good. So I'm going to make sure to take off the equal amounts of metal from both sides, or rebalance it, see where we're at. And then if I need to take more off of one side, I'll go ahead and do that. But I don't think that's going to be the case. So let's get started. So as I was saying, this is very low tech, and safety first. I use a face shield when I do this. So what I normally like to do is get a nice even cut on the top and on the bottom, and the same with the other side, obviously. You don't need like a really long edge on these. They just really need the burrs and whatever else taken out of them, just the roughness. And after you do that, it'll be just as effective. But you know, you don't need to sharpen all the way up to the beveled end of each one of these parts of the blade. There's just no reason to do that. You're just wasting your time. And you'll also want to check before you go through with this, is make sure that the blade itself is as straight as it should be. Now there are going to have some bends in them like these to allow the grass to be sucked up as it's cut and thrown into the bag or mulched. So that is normal, and typically with these you can really kind of tell if they're bent or not fairly easily just by looking at them most of the time. But if they are bent in one spot and not in another, that'll cause a vibration issue. So you do kind of want to be careful with that. So my trusty Baldor bench grinder. So as you guys can see, it's definitely got quite a bit more of a shine to it. I'm just going to really quickly check this thing for balance one more time. And we're still good. So I'm happy with that. We will slap this thing back on the lawnmower and get on with the video. And of course, the blade. And with these, I just thread them in by hand first. So there we have it. Now I'm just going to hit it with some degreaser before I spray it off with the hose. And so we'll just let it sit for a minute and go from there. So straight from the hoard, got two more that look to be in much better condition. So if I can, I'll just pull these off and replace. Simple enough. And the handle itself actually cleaned up pretty well too. I think I still might spray some areas with some black spray paint though. And I may still address that, but this thing's still wet, so I might not do that just yet. But I'm definitely happy with how this thing has turned out. So I'm going to throw the bag on it. So I just addressed the zip tie situation. Now I do want to make a point here. Obviously, if this mower is in much better condition, I probably wouldn't be bothering with zip ties, provided I had a better conditioned bag to throw on it. And which allows me to touch on this as well. If I had a perfect conditioned bag, as opposed to using this one, I would not put it on this lawnmower. It's not in mint condition, it's not close to it, it's still in usable condition, but cosmetically it's far from perfect. I mean, I don't really have to itemize everything that's cosmetically wrong with this, be it the faded paint or old beauty cover, or just the fact that really the whole thing is just faded and kind of shabby. So given that, the current value of this thing is probably anywhere between 60 to 80 bucks in this area, mainly because it does have a bag with it. Without the bag, I'd be lucky to get 40 or 50. But for some reason in this area, people like to mow their lawns with bags behind their mowers. It's not really a big deal to me, but that's what the consumer wants, at least in this area that I've noticed. So given that, there's really no point in cherrying this thing out because it's just going to take far too long, and the rate of return on it, it's not going to be worth my time. And the other thing worth noting is people buying a lawnmower that they can already see looks like this, they're not really going to care if the bag is in perfect condition or not. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to start this thing up for you guys, give it one last start, and see where we go. A little bit of water. it runs pretty good. I was thinking there might be some more carb work I was going to have to do to this thing, but when I initially got this started in the last video, it was surging. Might have been just because there was a little bit of old gas in it that was residual. I didn't do a full tear down of this carburetor because it came off of this lawnmower and it had already been done, so maybe it just needed to go through all that slightly old gas and run a little bit, and it seems to have cleared up now. So I'm happy with where this thing's gone, and hope you guys enjoyed this now second video on this thing, and stay tuned for more.